Happy Friday, everybody. My name is Jack Billings, and I'm the CEO and founder of Shedknives. Today, I'm going into psychological resilience, mental preparedness for the outdoors, for survival situations, and really anything that you got to have a strong mind for. First things first, what knives am I carrying today? Well, I have my 2023 Shedknives Conquest in Coyote TNG10. Beautiful blade, got the black Kydex sheath, and then I also have a folder with me today. My gloves are a bit bulky, so I'm trying to grab stuff. Anyways, got the Cold Steel Spartan. This was my first Cold Steel. I have to say I admire what Lynn Thompson did with Cold Steel. I know he doesn't own it anymore, he sold it off, but he's still a part of it. Anyways, I admire what Lynn Thompson is doing, and he loves Shedknives, which is funny because the Conquest I have, this was the first shed knife he picked up at Blade Show, and he loved this thing. So Lynn Thompson, if you're watching, shout out to you. I appreciate all that you do, and let's keep it moving. So let me know what you're carrying down in the comments today. Also, let me know what outdoor plans you have. I know it's a little foggy, misty right now. It's not the greatest conditions, but let me know if you have anything planned. All right, folks, so now that we got today's carry out of the way, it is now time to carry on with the video. This video is going to be based on the Shedknives blog number 79. If you want to check that out, you can click the link in the description, or if you're watching from the blog, thank you very much. Right, point number one is understanding psychological resilience and mental preparedness. What is that? What does it mean? First things first, a good situation, a good scenario is if you're in the outdoors and all you have is a knife, maybe some tape, maybe some 550 cord. We'll just say you have those three. You have nothing else. That can be very tough on your mind and on your body, because you're eventually going to get hungry, you're going to get tired, you're going to be angry at just things because everything's cold or maybe everything's hot. Just it's there, you have a lot of great reasons to be upset, but with a strong mind you can look at the tools you have and be like, you know what, I have these tools, I'm gonna go make stuff happen. And that's the mindset I encourage all of you to develop. And by the end of this video, you should know what you need to do to start getting a better mind. Okay, folks, pardon the change of environment. The wind really picked up and destroyed the next like 10 minutes of my video, so I have to narrate now. Enjoy. Here we go. Point number two, facing fear. We have to embrace the uncomfortable, my friends. We have to understand it first. Then we have to practice it, because otherwise you wouldn't know why and what you're practicing. So understanding fear, you have to learn to acknowledge your specific fears. What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of the dark? Some people are afraid of water. Some people are afraid of heights. Some people are afraid of just not being prepared. So figure out, what are you afraid of? Pretty much, what are you afraid of? And then figure out how that will give, and then figure out your reaction strategy to that. Some people freeze, some people get into the flight mode, which is basically running away. Some people fight. Figure out how you react to those fears. And then moving on, we have practicing. You have to practice fear exposure. Now, don't go and do anything dumb that may get yourself hurt. Obviously, you want to be safe when you do this stuff. For example, if you're afraid of the dark, turn your lights off, sit in your room, sit by the light switch. Boom. That's not too scary. Going to an abandoned alley and sitting in the dark, that is dangerous. Don't do that. Afraid of the water, stand in it. Go to a pool, go to where a lifeguard is, stand in it. That's it. I personally used to be afraid of heights. How did I combat that? I did something safely. I went rock climbing. And rock climbing, sure, it can be dangerous at times, but indoor rock climbing is what I've been doing for quite a while now, and that's really helped me evolve and adapt from that. There's a photo in the Shedknives blog of me doing some rock climbing up in New Hampshire, and that was a really nice gym. But what I'm doing is, if you look at the machine I'm on, it's like an auto belay, which basically means my entire life is trusting on one machine. It's definitely a little freaky because nobody else is there to help me if the machine stops working. But guess what? Because I'm getting over my fear of heights, I can do stuff like that. It's no problem. So I encourage you, figure out what you're afraid of. Take some time, journal it, write it down, and then go do something about it. Take action. That's what we want to get to. Take action. Number 3, my friends, developing a survival mindset. You'd be surprised, not a lot of outdoor enthusiasts have this will to live, you could say. They just kind of give up. When it gets tough, they just kind of pack their bags up. I was in the Boy Scouts. Many of you guys know this stuff. And I had so many other people on these trips who would just say, it's too cold, I gotta call my parents. It's too hot, I gotta go home. It was just misery levels, just high misery levels. And personally, I do not like levels of misery. I do not like that. I am not a fan of that. So what do? I surround myself with people who have a will to live, who have a will to succeed. And there's plenty of them out there. You just got to find the right people, and also developing your mindset through positive self-talk. That's definitely helpful. And then also bringing on a growth mindset, figuring out what you have with your resources. Maybe you go out on a trip with only a few resources. Figuring out how to get through a situation with a few resources, in a safe way, of course, will help grow your mindset and help you figure out different techniques to get through a situation. So that's always helpful. But you are either, remember this, you are either your greatest advocate or your worst enemy. So pick which one you're going to be. I'd encourage you to be your greatest advocate. That's what the Shedknives community is about. So we can better ourselves and better each other through knives, community, and just through doing the right things. So I want to end point number 3 on that. All right, moving on. Point number 4, stress management techniques. Believe me, it can get pretty tough out there in the outdoors, especially when the environment is not on your side. So you got to learn how to stay calm. We can do this through different breathing exercises, which, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not too big of a fan of breathing exercises. I don't know, just never have been until I started doing it. Especially when things are getting tough, you just kind of take a few minutes and then boom, you're back at it, ready to go. You can also practice just sitting and thinking thoughts. It kind of sounds like kind of cheesy, but just kind of think. Look at your thoughts. Ask yourself, why am I thinking these things? How does this help me? Where did they come from? Just that sort of thing. Just kind of thinking through it methodically. That can definitely help calm you down and get you in a good mindset. There have been times in the outdoors where I'm under pressure. I am maybe lost. I am maybe trying not to drown from flipping my kayak in the wrong way or my sailboat. There have been some pretty tough things, but guess what? I just took a moment, and it can be just that, a moment, to just blink and cure your problem. You just blink and then boom, problem solved. Because all you did was just change your mindset. That's all you did. All right, let's move on, my friends. We have point number 5, problem solving skills. I've already touched on a few of these on how to do our stress management techniques, but problem solving skills, they're very similar. Once you're in a good mindset, once you're in a calm mindset, now we can move forward. We can move forward on what we have. We have 2 things we can look at. We can look at analytical thinking, just point A, point B type solutions, and then we can also look at adaptability. Now, analytical thinking is like this. My shelter is broken, but I have duct tape, so now I'm going to tape it back together. It's kind of analytical thinking. Also, you want to assess the situation first. You want to identify the problems, and then you want to come up with effective solutions for those problems. It's better to have multiple solutions than not enough solutions. So you just want to think about all of the solutions you can have and then pick the best one. Adaptability can be used in more than just a survival situation. Adaptability can be used in your personal life, and that's helpful because people, I've said this before, people tend to believe that they're going to just absolutely excel in a survival situation when their personal life is miserable. And my question to them is, how do you think you're going to survive with 5 items in the middle of nowhere? You don't even know what's going on. But then in your personal life, so you think you'll do that, but then in your personal life, you have all the resources you can put together, but you can't figure that out. You have a house, you have electricity, you have food, you have sometimes family, you have all these things, and you still can't figure that out. So how are we to expect you to succeed when you have even less? I'm not trying to call anybody out, just trying to get you guys to think about this. This is also something for me to think about as well, because what do they say? You learn once when you learn it, and then you learn twice when you teach it. So this also gives me an opportunity to think about different adaptability. And last point, here we go, point number 6. This is a personal favorite, cold water exposure. This is going to work wonders on your adaptability, on your stress management, on how calm you are. This helps. Cold water exposure, we can do this a few ways. If you don't live in a clean water environment, like personally, there's not a lot of really good rivers around me. There's not a lot of good ponds and lakes specifically for swimming. Now for fishing, no problem, but I don't want to swim in these because the chemical contents are way too high. I also should not be eating any fish out of these ponds. But anyways, if you're in a place where you can get into a cold river or a cold lake, I encourage you to do that. But you can start off, we got to take baby steps. You can start off with a cold shower, a cold bath, running your face through ice water, taking an ice bath at home, that sort of thing before you go venturing off into the outdoors, into cold water. And why is this a personal favorite? A few reasons. First off, let's talk about dopamine for a second. I'm going to treat this subject as if you have no clue what I'm saying, because at some point I had no clue what any of this was. So I'll just start from the bottom. Dopamine, basically, when you eat something sugary or you drink a soda, we'll say, it tastes good, it feels nice. That is an increase of dopamine, which basically is telling your brain, yes, this is good, yeah, this feels good. Now, dopamine levels can be adjusted, and you have a baseline. We're going to say that the max amount of dopamine you can have is 20 points, and the least amount you can have is 0 points. 20 means you feel fantastic, you feel the best you've ever felt ever. 0 is you feel horrible, you feel the worst you've ever felt ever, because you have no dopamine. Now, for this example, we're going to say you're in the middle. You have 10. You have 10 dopamine points. Now, these are not real numbers. This is just a good example for you to understand. So you have 10 dopamine points. With a cold shower, here's what happens. You get in the cold shower. You take the cold shower for, we'll just say 10 minutes. And your dopamine levels drop to a 5 during this cold shower because it hurts. It's painful, it's cold, it doesn't feel good, so your body is not releasing dopamine. Where if you're drinking a soda, now your dopamine raises to a 15. But here's the deal. When you get out of that cold shower, within the next hour, your dopamine levels are going to rise to a new baseline of 15, where before they were 10, where when you drink that soda, now your dopamine levels are going to drop to a new baseline. So how does this help? How can we use this? Having a higher baseline of dopamine means tougher activities aren't as bad. They don't feel as bad. And now, yes, you can just push through, ignore emotion, blah, blah, blah. But when you can just do the tough stuff when you don't want to do it at first, just for a little bit, imagine if 15 minutes a day could make your entire day better, your entire 23 hours and 45 minutes better, just from 15 minutes of a little cold water. That's my perspective on it, and if you want to use it, I encourage you to try it out. I've been doing this since March 3rd of 2023, so getting close to a year of cold immersion, which I believe it has really helped me out and have helped developed my mind. You can take a look at more cold water immersion stuff through Wim Hof. I encourage you to check him out. Alright, now this brings me to the very end of the video. If you enjoyed this video, I encourage you to hit the like button. I also encourage you to hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Most of you are not subscribed. Over 60% of you watching by this point are not subscribed. So join the Shedknives community, join the Shedknives movement, hit the subscribe, and also last thing, if you want to support Shedknives in a different manner, you can go to shedknives.com and check out my knives there. I have a few left, which I encourage you to check out. But anyways, my name is Jack, I make knives, and I'll see you in the next one.